and those who believe in the natural process of God. One lives by fire, and one lives by water. Fire is the generative force. Fire renews all things in nature and is used to create technology, metal, propel engines. The waters of faith represent the feminine force, or the receptive force, those who are acted upon. It is important that you know these things. It is also racial in nature. Those who live by the philosophy of fire, in what they call the Brotherhood, the Illuminati, the illumined ones, the sons of Cain are the Luciferian force, the ones who rebelled against God, the ones who were not satisfied with the number of stalks of grass in the field and wanted to make it more productive, who built cities and walled them and learned to hunt. And of course, those who live in the waters of faith obey what they believe to be God's Word, and that is that they are to take care of the earth and the animals upon it, and live in innocence in the Garden of Eden, that they are not to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. One is represented by the dark races, and one is represented by the Anglo-Aryan races. One is represented by the religious segment of society, and in particular, the Orthodox Jewish faith, the Christian faith, and the Islamic fundamentalists. The other is represented by those who do not believe in God at all. On the contrary, they believe that man himself is God, or will become God, through the use of his intellect, the gift of Lucifer, or Satan in the Garden of Eden. They are engineering the future. They want to destroy their enemies. They want to create a new heaven and a new earth. The molten sea, which we've already discussed, is an attempt to bring the two warring factions together as one. The molten sea represents the literal taking of all of the different disparate elements of alchemy and putting them together, mixing them, if you will, and pouring it as a sea of colorless metal. The pure white philosopher's stone, if you will, where there is no further conflict. All things have come together equally. It is brought about by the philosophers of fire through the Hegelian dialectic, and that all things have an opposing force. When these two forces clash or come together, there is a synthesis, or a blending into something new. And every time you have this clash that occurs among...
Wait a minute. Philosopher's Stone. What if the Philosopher's Stone is culture?
The disparate forces in the world, there are left fewer forces to clash, but nevertheless they are brought together in conflict until ultimately the goal is to have one remaining philosophy, one remaining government, one remaining religion, and one remaining race. Do you understand what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen? And they don't really care how they do it. They look at the black and Hispanic races as the useless eaters of the world, steeped in the waters of faith. They're determined to eliminate them, one way or the other. One of the ways that has been proposed, and is a possibility, is the blending of all races into one through intermarriages, through the forced coupling to produce interracial children over long periods of time. Another is to create wars and revolutions during which the undesirable races will simply be eliminated. Hitler tried that, didn't he? So I continue where we left off. I know that some of you are so lost out there, being new listeners to the Hour of the Time, not understanding any of the symbology, that you did not really understand the 3 broadcasts that we made last week. That was the beginning. For you, for long-time listeners of this broadcast, it's just another brick in the building of the wall, so to speak. Now, let me sort of digress a little bit to make sure that you're where I am at. We were talking about blood, the human ego, and what happens if blood is mixed. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're a new listener to this broadcast, this is not what I believe. This is what those who are causing the chaos in the world today believe. I pay attention to it, and I study it because I know whatever they believe, if they are so powerful that they can cause these things to happen, it will affect me whether I believe it or not. No general walks up on a battlefield without at least knowing all that he can possibly know about the opposing commander and his philosophy and his tactics. And we are engaged in a battle, make no mistake about that. In ancient times, it was strictly forbidden anyone belonging to one tribe to marry into another tribe, because it was known then by the leaders of humanity that the strange blood would kill something. It always does. And this is where the old taboos about race comes in. It doesn't really kill anything. The truth is that children produced by interracial marriages are usually extremely intelligent. And most of them are beautiful. The strange blood would kill something. It did. It always does. We read that Adam and Methuselah lived so many centuries. At that time, it was the custom to marry in the family, marry as closely as possible so that the tie of blood might be as strong as it could be made. Then the blood that coursed through the veins of the people in that family contained the pictures of all that had happened to the different ancestors. These were stored in the mind, which is now the subconscious. Remember in the movie The Lion King, when the little lion looked into the pool and he saw his father staring back at him? That's what this is all about. You see, Walt Disney was a very, very committed Anglophile, and he was a 33rd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite of the Southern jurisdiction. Then they were consciously and constantly before the inner vision of all people, and each family was united by this common bond, wherein the pictures of their ancestors lived. The sons saw the life of their fathers, and thus the fathers lived in the sons. And since the consciousness of Adam and Methuselah and the other patriarchs lived for centuries in their descendants, they were said to live personally. See, everybody's always asking, how could Methuselah live so long? He didn't. He didn't physically live, but he lived on in the genetic makeup of those who came after. It's talking about race, ladies and gentlemen. It was then as great a crime to marry outside the family as it is now to marry within. How about that? Even among the early Norsemen, we learn that if anyone wanted to marry with any strange family, he was first obliged to mix blood. It must first be tested to see whether his blood would mix with that of the family into which he desired to marry. And thus, hemolysis was known to many, in some of its phases at least. If the blood did not mix, it would bring about confusion of caste, as the Hindu says. A straight line of descent must be kept, for otherwise those pictures in the inner vision would become mixed and would be confused. And in those days this was absolutely necessary for the security and for the survival of the people, of the tribes and of the nations that lived in those days. Today, there's no necessity for this whatsoever. Period. And for those who say that something would be lost, something would be lost. The animosity between the races would disappear. That's what would be lost, ladies and gentlemen. The gene pool would not be destroyed, but would live on. And just as in agriculture, and just as in the breeding of animals, you produce a better strain when you mix. Ladies and gentlemen, do you really believe that before the cattle industry came along that black Angus cattle were roaming the plains? Not on your life. Do you really believe that in ancient times there were German shepherds and St. Bernard dogs and greyhounds? Not on your life. Do you really believe that some of these fantastic vegetables and fruits that you routinely put upon your table today existed as little as 50 years ago? Not on your life, not in your wildest dreams. And you can see in the histories of the royal families of Europe what happens when you breed pure over long periods of time. The worst emerges. The very worst. Now, I'm not condemning those who believe in their race or who want to maintain their race. What I'm telling you is that your philosophy of intermarriage being wrong is itself wrong. It is flawed. And I'm not telling you that this is what I am proposing for the future. I'm just telling you it is what it is. And for those of you who believe that your gene pool is being depleted through these intermarriages, you're full of crap. Or you're impotent, one or the other. Because if you're really concerned about your gene pool, you would find another person of your race of the opposite sex, and you would produce as many children as you possibly could. You see, I think 1,000 years from now, there's still going to be people running around who are pure white, pure black, pure Chinese, pure Japanese, pure American Indian. Because there's going to be people who don't want to intermarry. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But the concept of racial conflict came about because of the necessity in ancient times to protect the tribe, to protect the nation, to ensure that the wealth of the family was not passed down to someone who did not deserve it or who did not belong or who was not accepted by the culture, by the society of that time. I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, with no second thoughts whatsoever. Change is inevitable. Change will come. Change is in the process of happening now. I've said this over and over and over again. I will continue to say it. What emerges as a result of this change will not be anything that ever was before. Look throughout history, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing that ever was is. And tomorrow, nothing that is will ever be. If you don't understand that concept, you are going to get swept away in the change. You will be tremendously hurt by the change. You see, I don't do this broadcast and I don't preach about our founding fathers and liberty and individual rights because I think that everything is going to be the same as it was when this country began or even as it was 40 years ago. I teach you those things so that you will know where you came from and so that we can pick out what is important to preserve and to input into the coming change so that the future will not be enslavement. You cannot stop change. I cannot stop change. No one can stop change. But we can influence the outcome. We can say no to certain portions of the change and resist it with all our might. We can accept others. We can compromise on some things. But the change is still going to come. And as all of history, there will be people who will stand and refuse to accept any change whatsoever. And there will be those who accept some change and those who can look ahead and see the direction that the change is going to take. Will be those who profit, who become leaders, who are the directors of the road that the change is going to follow, and who will not be destroyed or injured or damaged or crushed by this change. I don't know what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, but I can guarantee you in 100 years, our Constitution will be a memory in the history books. Because something's going to change here. It is our job to make sure that the change is something that we can live with, that we can profit by, that we can make into a better future. You see, because the philosophers of fire are going to bring it about one way or another. And you may slow them down, and you may change the direction of their machinations, if you will, for a little while. And you may be able to affect the outcome, but you will not be able to stop the change. Now, I don't know how many of you can grasp what I'm telling you, but I hope it's an awful lot. You see, we have to ensure that the protections of the liberty of the individual, what we call creator-endowed rights, are not destroyed in this process. That we don't make the state more important than those the state was created to serve. I never could understand communists who created a state wherein the people's only purpose was to serve the state, which didn't even exist except in their minds. Incredible. We must not forget that humans are the most important part of creation. Not that the other segments of the created universe are not important, but we are the ones that can affect our environment in many ways that animals cannot, and plants cannot, and oceans and weather cannot. We can build, we can create, we can tear down, we can destroy, we can kill, we can uproot, we can decimate, we can eliminate, we can create. The lesson of the movie 2001, or at least one of the lessons, was that when you allow your technology to be more important than the creator of that technology, you have made a tremendous mistake. When the sole purpose of man is to serve what he has created, you have made a mistake. A great mistake. In ancient days, ladies and gentlemen, this marrying in the family or tribe was what engendered the selfishness, the clannishness, and the struggle and strife in the world, and that is the truth. At the ultimate base level of all conflicts that even can occur today anywhere in the world is this conflict between the races and between religions and between those who are not religious and those who are. And all of it flies in the face of any concept of a philosophy of liberty or of living in liberty. So those who tell me that they believe in liberty and they believe in the concepts of the founding fathers of this nation and then tell me that only Christians can be Americans are liars. They have no concept whatsoever of what liberty is all about. And I'm a Christian. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. To break up this strife and this trouble and these struggles, The practice has to be discontinued. Thus, when Christ came, he advocated the discontinuance of the practice when he said, quote, "Before Abraham was, I am," end quote. In effect, Christ said, "I do not care for the race father, but I glory in the I am," the ego that was long before he was. And he also said, "Who does not leave father and mother cannot follow me." He was not talking about physically leaving your physical father and your physical mother. He was talking about leaving the society. Leaving what in those days was the race, because the race was the society. Many people have brought that through the ages, up until today. And you'd better listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't, you had better understand the alternatives. The alternatives are an ultimate clash between the races that will be the most terrible thing that you can ever even conceive of. Who does not leave father and mother cannot follow me. As long as you are tied to the family, the nation, the tribe, you are siding with the old blood, the old ways, and cannot amalgamate into the molten sea, into a universal brotherhood, into a peaceful world. As long as there are Jews and Arabs, and Jews practice Judaism and Arabs practice the religion of Islamic fundamentalism, there will be war in the Middle East, I guarantee it. As long as there are Christians that believe that anyone who is not a Christian is a pagan fool, there will be wars between Christians and those people. I guarantee it. And people who practice these things do not understand the concept of liberty. And I'm telling you exactly what the elite of the world are about today and what is happening in this world and why these things are happening. If you are listening to me carefully, you can understand current events crystal clear better than anyone that you know. You see, this ultimate peaceful world can only come when people marry internationally and produce interracial children. Because when there are so many nations, the way to unite them is through marriage. Let Abraham, the race and tribe father, die. Let the I am live. Christ knew the occult fact that the mixture of blood in international marriage always kills something. It doesn't kill the race. The race lives on in the genetic code of the children, even though the genes are mixed with genes of other races. They are there. The children are generally tougher, healthier, and smarter than other children. If it does not kill the body, what does it kill? If we made a horse and a donkey, the outcome is a hybrid, the mule. In that mule, something is missing on account of the mixture of strange blood, namely the faculty of propagation, which is lacking in all hybrids. Similarly, when we marry internationally, something else is destroyed, but nothing physically. And that is the picture in the inner vision. The different pictures of different families clash. And so the clairvoyance, the touch with the spiritual world and the memory of nature has won since the practice of marrying in the tribe was broken up. The Highland Scot who marries in the clan, and the gypsies alone retain this second sight in a measure. Thus we can see that the blood is now differently constituted from what it was in the earlier ages of human evolution. The body of Jesus was a pioneer vehicle of superlative purity at the time when the Christ Spirit entered it as a means of ingress to the center of the earth by the identical path which had previously been taken by Hiram Abiff when he jumped into the molten sea and was conducted along the path of initiation to the center of the earth where Cain, his ancestor, dwelt. Remember, folks, I'm reading this. This journey of Christ is recorded in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 18 and 19. After Christ had been freed from the flesh by the violent death on Golgotha, when anyone is killed, the venous blood with its impurities clings closely to the flesh, and therefore the arterial blood which flows is distinctly cleaner than it would otherwise be. It is more free from passion and desire, and being etherealized by the great Christ Spirit, the cleansed blood of Jesus overflowed the world, purified the etheric region of selfishness to a great extent, and gave man a much better chance to draw to himself materials which will allow him to form an altruistic purpose and desire. Thus the age of altruism was there inaugurated. By faith in this blood, and by imitation of the Christ life, the sons of Seth are therefore provided with a means of purging from themselves the curse of selfishness, while the sons of Cain were given the emblem of the rose and of the cross, to teach them to work faithfully to make the molten sea, the philosopher's stone, and to find the new word which shall admit them to the kingdom. For they believe more in works than in faith. They belong to the material world. Those who believe in faith belong to the spiritual world. The accompanying chart that I'm holding in my hand shows 3 ages that are mentioned. The first age, when each human being was a complete creative unit, male, female, double-sexed, as they believe, and ruled by one hierarch, Melchizedek, who filled a dual office as king and priest, and that is what is coming in the New World Order. The second age, when the division of the race into male and female, separate from each other. Humanity divided into 2 sections called sexes, and into 2 orders, the temporal powers, the king initiates, Freemasons, initiation by fire and light, the male ideal of Hiram Abiff, and on the other end of the spectrum of duality, priests, Brahmins, Levites, initiation by water, baptism, of the female ideal, the Virgin Mary, and the division into races, nations, and sects. Hence there's war, oppression, and slavery, unity and diversity, love and hate. And then number 3, the new Galilee, the new age, the new world, which is coming. Abolition of sex. Are you listening to me? Abolition of sex, abolition of the family, finding the Word becomes flesh, Christ, King and Priest, just and holy, baptism of Spirit, divine ruler over a purged humanity. Do you know what the word purged means? It means that anyone who will not go along with this are to be eliminated. Christ, as you believe Him to be coming back as a Christian, is not what they're talking about here. They're talking about the office of the Christ. The Christed race. The New Age movement. Divine ruler over a purged humanity called Abraham's seed, dwelling in the New Jerusalem, which means there shall be peace. You'd better wake up to this, because what they got planned is not good. I oppose it. I oppose them because they are liars. I oppose their machinations because they are not building, they are manipulating. I oppose their New World Order because it will be a world of enslavement, of elimination of entire peoples and races. Because they can't wait for all these things to happen naturally. They claim that the division of the rulership into state and church caused war and strife. The state espouses the cause of fatherhood and man and upholds the male ideal of arts, crafts, and industry embodied in Hiram Abiff, the sons of Cain. The church espouses the cause of motherhood in woman and holds aloft the female ideal of love and hearth and home embodied in the Madonna and her child. It is the conflicting interests of the man and the woman, the home and the shop, the church and the state, which cause the economic struggle, the war, and the strife, with which mankind is cursed, and which make all long and pray for the reign of peace. The third age, the coming world, the world that they are attempting to build now, when a divine Christ, who like Melchizedek shall fill the dual office of king and priest, and shall rule over a purged and glorified humanity which has risen from sex love to soul love. And I am telling you now, it will not be Jesus Christ. It will be an impostor. It will be a lie. It will, in fact, be the Antichrist. And I don't care if you're a Jew. I don't care if you're an agnostic. I don't care if you're an atheist, a Christian, an Islamic, a Buddhist, a Taoist, or a nature worshiper, or an American Indian looking toward Wakan Tonka. What these people believe will affect us all. And they believe it. And they are in the process of bringing it about right this moment as I speak. I know them. I understand them. I speak their language. I can read their symbols. And they're just as full of crap as the preacher who stands behind his pulpit and tells you that Jesus commanded you to give him 10% of your income. It's all about, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about race and religion. And most of it is 100% total, unadulterated. There is no church upon the face of this earth today of any denomination or any religion from any part of the world that teaches what its founder actually taught or foresaw would be taught to the followers of that religion, including Judaism, including Christianity, including fundamentalist Islamism or Mohammedism. Buddha, if he could come back to this earth today, would be extremely saddened because of what they have done to his teachings. Christ would not recognize any Christian church that exists upon this earth today. Muhammad would not be happy with what he would find in Jordan or in Egypt or in Iraq or in Iran. We are in a sad state of affairs, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody has been lied to all their life. Most people who live upon the face of this earth, in every country, in every church, in every race, are living a fantasy created by leaders to serve agendas which do not serve the people who are following those agendas, albeit blindly following them. These agendas create wealth and political power and wars and nations and perpetuate strife for profit and religion for power. I wonder what Dr. Schuller is going to have to say about possibility thinking when a great earthquake strikes under his crystal cathedral and everyone is killed by the falling glass. Because his ego had to have a glass castle in which to talk about possibilities. Earthquake proof? Oh yeah, Dr. Schuller, and the Titanic was unsinkable. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity must mature. That's what this broadcast is all about. I'm not about revolution. I'm about principles and ideals and liberty. And I have told you many times this is a ministry of liberty, if it is a ministry at all. Those of you who talk about preemptive strikes and forming militias to fight the great battle of freedom, it's not going to happen that way. And after all the battles are over, what you're going to get is not anything like what you thought you were fighting for. And you have to remember that throughout its history, socialists have created revolutions amongst the people who believed that they were gaining their liberty in order for the socialists to come to power and install a dictatorship. That's why from the beginning of this broadcast and from the beginning of my urging of the people to form militias, it is to protect law and order in your communities, to preserve the political and military control of your communities, of your states, of your counties, so that when all of these manipulations take their natural course, you will not be swept up in the tide of war and destroyed. And there will be war. That's what Waco was all about. That's what Ruby Ridge was all about. And that's what Oklahoma City was all about. And it was not done by Arab terrorists, although they may have hired some Arabs to be involved to point the arrow in that direction if they could not destroy the militias with their American Reichstag. Can always turn it into a war in the Middle East, which will lead to the same thing. Ultimately, an atomic weapon will be exploded in an American city. Not because I want anybody to. If I knew anybody that was going to do it, I would give my life to stop them. But because I know our enemies, and if they cannot bring about their world totalitarian socialism and their one race and their one religion any other way, they will do it. I know them like the back of my hand. I have studied them for the good portion of my life. And ironically, they think they're doing it for the good of humanity. but they have fooled themselves, just like they've created a bogus religion. They're all liars. We'll continue this tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Michelle Moore will be our guest. Good night, folks, and God bless you all.
Well, that was a pretty good episode. Pretty sure I played it before on here, but I thought it was a different one, but it's still good. Wasn't the one I was thinking of, but it was part of one of the Lost Mystery Babylon episodes. So you gotta understand that the it's all a big game to the secret societies. These all a big game. And that William Cooper was definitely not about revolution, just like I'm against revolution as well. I believe in order. It's interesting to wonder what Cooper would have thought of modern times. Would he have got wrapped up in all these big things that people are talking about, or would he see through it as some kind of bullshit? Seems like they're playing some kind of games for sure. See, when I play Magic cards, when there's a bunch of people, it's all one big game, and you know you're gonna lose anyways or whatever. It's like, see, this is why I think that this is how I think the Illuminists do stuff. They just kind of sit there and wait till something happens, and once there's some kind of opportunity to like have one person fuck someone else over, they just play a card and make it happen. Not for the, well, it may be for the grand scheme of things, but it seems, generally speaking, that they like to just create chaos. Keep in mind that there's a lot going on with these. See, when Cooper was talking about that Antichrist shit, there's not going to be any Antichrist. It's the consciousness. That's what it is. The Christ consciousness is the Antichrist. All these people say that they have it. Oh, I've got the Christ consciousness. That seems pretty ridiculous. Remember what Weishaupt said? Man will be free when he is made unto a god. Consciousness. Remember what happened on The Wizard of Oz? Remember? Tin Man was given a diploma. He thought that he had the brain. The Christ consciousness people think that they have the Christ consciousness. Get a gift which is nothing. It's all a lie. Confabulated to create a group think psychological scenario of control. Remember, the word legion is very interesting. 10,000. A legion. 10,000 demons. Very interesting. The Strange Marvel show they never continued. I think it was on Fox called Legion. Very strange show. The Ramosko. Excuse me. Yeah, I feel like I need to smoke a cigarette. So you gotta understand here, the Illuminati is talking about Bible stuff. They're not talking about what you think they're talking about. They're talking about it in a surrealist way, symbolic, purely symbolic. Purely symbolic. Surrealistic way. A consciousness. God is a consciousness. That's what they believe. They go around spewing their fight for purity between the upper and lower consciousness. You seen any stupid Masonic posts on Facebook and Twitter and stuff? I think I got a screenshot that I can quote here. Oh, the consciousness. How many consciousnesses does it take to screw in a light bulb? Okay, I guess I don't have the screenshot. No. How many consciousnesses does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, it's a stupid question because it's not even a joke. I can't even make a bad joke. So imagine that there was no consciousness. There's no such thing. Consciousness. I mean, we have cognitive apprehension. Consciousness is a scientific word used to replace the word spirit. Consciousness. Used to replace the word spirit. Because that's all science is. They want to make sure that you believe in what they want you to believe in. And it's not necessarily all scientists or anything, but that's the Illuminati. Compartmentalized obscurantism, lack of inquiry, stuck in a box. When you're in the box, you cannot see the outside of the box. That's what's going on in the world with all these compartmentalized occult orders, which are all pushing for this consciousness evolution. Consciousness evolution. Yeah, the square and the compass. The reminder to subdue my passion. That's what the Masons say. Yeah, the shit. Now where'd that thing go? Okay. So there's nothing wrong with controlling your passions. But when you only believe that there is no God except God is your passions or God is your mind, your consciousness, ooh, well, Satan would be your passions according to their religion. See, that's the thing. If mankind had free will, then people believing that your mind was God and your passions were the devil, that wouldn't be free will. Now, would it? See, we're coming to the age of reason. Nah, no, that was stupid. The age of reason. Or maybe we've been there the whole time. We just kind of got pushed into the age of. I can't think of anything that rhymes with that. The age of liaisons. That doesn't rhyme with reason. Whoa. So it's interesting how the many different 50 shades of Freemasonry and Illuminati, they all have in the oath the Socrates and what was that wine called? But in the other orders, they refer to it as the Aqua Tofana. Aqua Tofana. What was that? What was that wine that Socrates drank? Oh, God damn it. Hemlock, that's it. Hemlock. So, this is why Cooper says that the Illuminati is old as time. Is as old as time. Because the way they perform their stuff, the way their passwords are, everything about it. You look at I mean, you don't want to know how old some of the Masons think it is. I mean, think of it like we've just been sitting on Earth with no electricity for millions of years. All of a sudden, we figure it out. Nobody really remembers what some of the occult writers write, but I do. They said when we came to the great age of light that we would uncover the great mysteries of electricity. Yeah, remember that 2025 was the year that Alice Bailey predicted. You know, if I was to be superstitious, I would think that the Tesla logo is a symbol of the Masons, and the Tau, symbol of the tree. I would think that the occultists in their religion of scientism would rationalize a way to, well, I shouldn't say rationalize, would what's that word? Imagine well, that's not the word. Basically, that they would fathom some sort of way to channel their consciousness, God. See, I need to go steal a cigarette. Let's see here. The Illuminists are, well, I mean, their religion's crazier than. See, it's also simple, but it's also crazy. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a cigarette real quick. Be right back. Oh shit. Ouch. Okay. Start reading these books. The Masons write, such as these J.D. Buck books. The Lost Word Found. All these other books. See, the difference between my research and a lot of other people's research. It seems like they'll read a lot of books that are modern, that are talking about specific things. But when I'm reading the books by these Masons, like this J.D. Bug or uh, the what's his name? Damn it, I'm fucking stoned. Damn it, Hutchinson or Heckathorn or you know, where the fuck's my lighter at? When I'm reading these books by these Alvin Boyd Coons, these other occultist Max Heindels of the world, these bastards. Keep in mind, Max Heindel wasn't his real name. Damn it, I swear that like air conditioner's blowing like right in my face somehow, even though it's like 10 feet away. Okay. I guess I'll just use this cigarette filter. Okay. Let me just re-roll this cigarette real quick. I don't smoke the regular cigarette papers because they got chlorine. I need to quit cigarettes. I think this is like my third one today. It's not bad. I don't smoke very many cigarettes when I'm in heated conversations with people that have been drinking too much. Yeah, it's like fucking summer's over just about. Well, what was I going on about there a second ago? Let me get back into that. That's what's relative. While the Cooper episode is fresh on your mind with these, I mean, I've quoted some of that one book that he was quoting there before. Oh shit! There's some strange stuff going on with those books. Excuse me. You know, it's like Masonry goes back to the ancient world. You look at Church Swords, Arcana of Freemasonry, and the Primordial Man or whatever book. That's what it's called. You see these ancient artifacts showing showing Freemasonry at like 2000 BC, Uh, the it astounds me what I've seen in the Masonic books, archaeological evidence. See, when I read that thing about that Mason in the post claiming, in the YouTube, Twitter post claiming, what was that about? The managing the, meaning managing the, what you call it, the passions. That's all modern mumbo jumbo because all the fucking idiots don't know what the old symbols mean. Wah, wah. I don't know. So think about like symbol of Freemasonry. The bottom being the 90-degree symbol of the square world. Well, not square. Symbol of the square is the world, the material world, not the world like Earth, just simply the material world. And then the compass is the astral plane, quote unquote, the spiritual realm. So it's like you go to the seventh degree, and that's when the square meets the compass, and the material realm, the physical realm, the spiritual realm symbolically collide. The initiate goes on a different access. Uh, the compass draws the circle, the circumpunct symbol of Illuminati. The center of the circle is the symbol of God, their God. The symbol of the outer circle is the symbol of everything that God can see expanding, which they think is all, which they think Sirius is the center of the universe. Yeah, fix my quote. It reminds me of that one movie where the guy's like, mumbo jumbo, mumbo jumbo. He walks in and a little Satanist starts knocking their shit over or whatever. I mean, that dude was a Satanist too, but he was profane as well. Very strange movie. Johnny Depp, The Ninth Gate, the Baha'ism. I don't think there was anything to do with the castle. It was all about the sun and Venus and Sirius, or excuse me, Mercury. Uh, Man, these chairs suck. Uh, Switch to a chair that was less broken. It feels more uncomfortable than the broken one. Maybe I should just sit forward. Yeah, well, there's at least 4 Grail myths. I think the only one I think it's really relative is that King Arthur's story with that Green Knight. But so the circumpunct, the compass, the square, tools of the god, symbols of planes. The what is that called? The leveling thing. I forget what the hell that's called. Damn it. Let's see here. I know Danny would remember. I can't remember what the hell that's called. Well, I'm sure lots of people would remember. Anyways, see, it's like you take the tarot cards, and you take the first card, and it's the fool. He's got a small dog walking behind him. And he's falling off the ledge of a world into a new world, the world of magic, symbology. And it shows the first card. The fool becomes the magi. There's a table before him, and on the table are all the same instruments, in which are the tools of the craft, except they're different symbols. Instead of a compass, there's a sword. Instead of a square, there's a diamond. Or wait, yeah, I think that's how it goes. Instead of a ins- ins- instead of a the sword would be the spade. Instead of the name, I can't remember all these. Oh, either way, they're all set out before him. One representing fire, one representing water, one representing air, one representing earth. It's very interesting. I mean, well, I guess I shouldn't get too deep into it. Consult the book, The Tarot of the Bohemians by, what's his name? Now the cigarette's too strong. Plumline, that's it. Yep, Plumline. Freaking up. But then the second card, the Fool, after equipped with the tools of the god, he sees the Empress who sits at the damn it, what does that look like? I forget. The Empress. Technically, the second card and the third card are relevant because the two ladies that he sees, one is Mary, the other's Martha or Isis and Nephthys, the symbology. This is relevant because, let me just put on the screen first. Tarot High Priestess. Because she sits in between the two pillars, water and fire. And at her feet is the moon, just like in Revelations. You notice the pomegranates in the background, palm trees. Palm trees. You'll notice that the Bible mentions pomegranates 33 times. You notice that the pomegranates have 613 seeds relevant to the laws of the ancient world. You notice in her hand is a scroll that says Torah. because tarot in reverse is Torah. And that you'll see the cross on her chest. She's wearing a gown cloaked in the sun, symbol of the cross, just like Revelations. Okay, so that's where the initiate is bestowed the wisdom of fire and water. Well, after having the tools for fire and water. Okay, let's see here. Oops. Tarot number 3. Okay. Okay, 1 second here. The Empress. Might have those in reverse. So you see the symbol of Venus. And you see the grains of wheat, or Spica, star. You see the water. And on her head, the stars that are relevant to the next verse in Revelations that speaks of the moon at her feet. Is it 10 stars or 12 stars? That's it. Crown of 12 stars. Very relevant. I'm pretty sure those are pomegranates. Well, now, I'm not going to get into all that tarot stuff. Well, I guess maybe I kind of have to. Hold on here. What number card is it? Number tarot card number 21, I think. The World. So this card is relative to... Oh, that's not a very big image. This card is relative to the mystery of the doorway above Chartres Cathedral. Also the Ezekiel wheel, etc. Notice the lion and the bull are in reverse positions. The bird would have represented Scorpio. Notice the wreath. It's typically in a Vesica pattern for the Virgo. What is the other card? The World. So, because remember, after the 22-1 card, it goes back to the 0 card. The Fool. The Fool walks off the world. It's a repeating circular thing. Excuse me. The Wheel of Fortune. Notice you'll see the same symbology. Angel, a bird, bull, a lion. So the lion and the bull are switched. Notice you'll see the Egyptian Seb. which no one was sure of if it was a dog or a donkey. If you follow the wheel clockwise, you'll see it say tarot. If you move it counterclockwise, it says Torah. This is hard to explain. It's an ancient system that was forgotten. Notice the serpent. Notice the I forget what those letters are. Pretty sure that's the Tetragrammaton, Yod He Vahe. What number is this? Number 10. Well, that's interesting. I mean, nah, I don't know. I should go into this because it's too much to explain. The ancient system, you start reading that Bohemian Tarot of the Bohemian book, to see that it's very complex. That book is very complex. I highly suggest you read it, or at least read parts of it. Or I mean, I've only read like parts of it technically, but it's definitely on the list of reading. Yeah. So let's see what's the news here. Well, maybe I should go on about mystery schools. A lot of the news. The news is all brain rot. Yeah, fuck it. The news. It's these mystery schools. They use all these words and phrases. And they attach a psychological doctrine or dogma to it, such as the Darbyites or other fanatical religious people, the Mormons, etc. They're practicing a strange brew. See, like, you look at the Mormons are strange because they wear those gloves just like the Masons. Each degree, you get a different pair of gloves. You get a pair of gloves for your wife. Symbols of the white gloves, the symbol of the God, partaking in the work of the God. Symbology. I'm not saying that I believe it. That's what they believe. How did Weishaupt say that he would set man free, quote unquote? He would turn him into a god. The great Frankenstein monster. Well, not literally or metaphorically. Just it sounded cool. Yeah. So let's see here. He turned them into a god. Notice that's we never discussed this at infinitum, but thinking about it, making sure you're not missing something small, or that I'm not missing something. There's a lot of details to this stuff. Connections of the Grand Orient with Baha'ism, the connections of the Grand Orient with Aryan philosophy. It's all very simple. Especially when you see that the lodges started changing in Europe. They changed because of the Illuminists. Because the Illuminists set the doctrine. The Illuminists cooked the books. I'm sure all of you know what that means. Well, I never really thought of the term until I read it in a book. And it was a book on the Orange Society, talking about the Orange Society and how they cook their books. I guess I've heard it in like mafia movies and stuff, but like I've suspected for much time that the Masons cooked their books. Because of their Illuminist ideology. It's concealed. The outer core members are not to know the true secret. I think when William Morgan was blankety blanked, that they cooked his book. And then because after his book came out, all the Masonic lodges in America took his book and his system and used it as their standard for all the lodges. What is the motive for such a thing? Why would the lodges do that? Why would they standardize what their lodges do according to the information that is released about the secret things that they do? Think about that very carefully. It's not a coincidence that that they standardized William Morgan's book as their official excuse me, as their official Masonic. And if you look at it, they'll say, well, he wrote it down the best. I call bullshit. Well, he wrote it down better than we could, so we all decided to make it the standard. I call bullshit. I call bullshit. Even if they didn't cook William Morgan's book, they all standardized the lodges in accordance with what William Morgan's book said to conceal. Because remember, the Masons are under oath to hail, conceal, and never reveal the mysteries. Any word, scribbling, writing, impression, any sort of way. They are never to reveal the secrets. Why? Because it's all compartmentalized. Even the higher degrees can't reveal the secrets to the lower degrees because it's all compartmentalized. What do they do in intelligence structures? Any military type structure or any structure whatsoever. It's all compartmentalized. People are going down there to work on stuff at Area 51. They don't see anything. They just do the tiny job that they're supposed to do, and that they don't know what they're even working on because it's all compartmentalized. And that technology compartmentalization is irrelevant when we're talking about these Illuminists. Because these Illuminists have a real plan that they've been pushing for hundreds of years, perhaps even 1,000 years. Perhaps even 2,000 years. Because it seems as though as Paul was an Illuminist, Paul didn't speak of Jesus in the physical form. Paul spoke of the Christ Spirit. Or, damn, what does he say exactly? Cooper does an episode about that. Paul was a Illuminist. The Manichaeans come from a Persian sect. And that they called themselves Paulicians. That they merged the Zoroastrianism with Christianity. The lore of the widow's son. It's all very interesting. Yeah. What was I gonna say? One would ask why Paul goes against so many of the laws of Jesus in the Bible. 613 laws to be exact. The number of the seeds of the pomegranate. And interestingly enough, the pomegranate's mentioned 33 times in the Bible. I wonder how many times in the Old Testament versus the New Testament. I don't recall it being mentioned at all in the New Testament. I gotta look that up real quick. You know, the Old Testament 30 times. Well, that's interesting. 30 times. So that means that the New Testament has it 3 times. Let's see here. Oh, so that's interesting. So if the book of Enoch was part of the Bible, it wouldn't matter because he doesn't even mention pomegranates. He mentions grapes, though, which is interesting. I wonder how many times grapes are mentioned in the Old Testament. 37 times. What about the New Testament? Let's say like at least 5. 3 times. So that's interesting. Grapes and pomegranates are mentioned 3 times. What about branch? Branch 9 times. Huh. Well, the word branches appears, but branch is typically capitalized in the King James because it was a pentagrammaton, much like the tetragrammaton. Wait, no. Brand should be a hexagrammaton. 6 letters. NCH. And that's not necessarily anything. That's just a Greek. Ah, damn my eye. It's just a Greek word for. What the fuck? It's in my eye. It's just a Greek word for 6-letter word. Just like pentagrammaton is a Greek word for 4-letter word. Ah, damn it. Man, my eyes like itching like crazy. Ah, damn it. I think I got weed my. Okay. So well, this isn't what I was gonna keep talking about. This is what was I going with that? Well, so back to so they say that Boehm was an Illuminist alchemist, Jacob Boehm, who was also a theosophist, also preached weird Christianity. It wasn't Christianity. Then there was what the fuck was his name? Well, they say that Paracelsus, who's also an alchemist and an illuminist, and that well, I think I forgot something. That's what it was. Paul speaks about the Christ within. That's what it was. That's what Cooper said. The Christ in you. Because remember the Christ consciousness stuff of the New Age movement. Remember why Alvin Boyd Kuhn quotes Paul about 500 times in his book, The Lost Light. Yeah, so remember that in Baha'ism, their Christ within, talking about Paul, is understood as the awakening of a soul to this universal divine light and perfection, rather than the literal indwelling of the historical man Jesus. Well, I don't think it should say indwelling. It should say rather than the literal historical man Jesus. Yeah, Baha'i texts often study Paul's writings, but filter them through Baha'u'llah's progressive revelation and Abdul Baha's spiritual interpretations. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so let's okay. One moment. Yeah, so there's a lot of damn it, I took that off the thing. Okay, let's see here. This is a Baha'ist book. Very interesting. What was I looking for there? Baha'ism. Abdul Baha. Where does it say Paul? Uh, The Star of the West. Oh, there it is. The Pauline Christianity. These. So that's interesting. Yeah, Baha'ism is a borrower of Christ's teachings. Yeah, so here some adherents regard Baha'ism as Christianity continued or renewed by the second coming of Christ, whom they recognize in Abdul Baha. Most American Baha'is are of this class, with faith in Baha'u'llah as God the Father. See, yeah, that's totally relative to the Baha'i Illuminati conspiracy. Um, yeah, so what's it say here? How can I classify the late Professor T.K. Chain of Oxford, this widely known critic in his last work, 1914, The Reconciliation of Races and Religions, bewilders me by his credulity. It is only charitable to excuse it as the product of his dotage. How otherwise could an Oxford scholar take pride in adopting the new name and titles given to him by Abdul Baha? Sign his preface Ruhani, spiritual, and have pleasure in being called the divine philosopher, the priest of the Prince of Peace, Baha, and being compared to St. Paul as a herald of the kingdom, and write himself a member of the Baha'i community. That's interesting. Yes, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in these books. What does that say? How that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery. Interesting. Okay, so how is it the Star of the West? Okay, so I guess I'm gonna smoke another joint. Okay, let me go to the next book one. Let's see. Yes, this is interesting. It might bring up something. Paul's. Where did it go? Okay, well. Okay, so here it is. I think. Okay, well. Yeah, that's not really going into what I thought I was going to. Let me see here. Well, I'm not gonna just talk about that same subject. Okay, well, let me grab a cigarette, I guess. Or no, I was gonna smoke a joint. Yeah, I gotta quit smoking cigarettes. Okay, well, let's see here. I'll put a link out if anybody wants to come on. Paul, in other words, says to me, has it been revealed the mystery of Christ? Well, no, I don't trust Paul. You'll have to wait till Danny's on here to back me up on this shit. Cause I'm too stoned. So I can like remember stuff when I hear it and then further elaborate and stuff, you know. I mean, I've done this deep dive like 20 years ago. It was a huge deep dive when I was into the Bible stuff. The and then when I heard Cooper talking about it too, it was like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm not the first person to catch on to this shit. What's going on? Wait. Yeah, yeah, so oh, let's see. I mean, I could like, let's see here. So there's some weird stuff going on with the excuse me. Um, so let's go on about this Maine's character of. So here we go. Well, maybe I'm gonna go up here a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Many theosophical students will find such utterances of immense value, as showing the view held by a Masonic authority of such well-known repute as M. E. McBean, I.G., in regard to some. At any rate, of the Eastern links with modern Masonry, Mr. Guild, the lecturer, also made the following suggestive remarks. With regard to the derivations of Masonry, therefore, briefly, three possibilities may have come down to us through a strictly Masonic channel, through the Rosicrucians, or through a variety of defunct societies whose usages and customs have been appropriated, not inherited by Freemasons. The views thus put forward are these two authorities coincide perfectly with those of many German and Italian mystic writers of the last century and those preceding it. We will therefore investigate the early traditions in order to trace the links which bind them together, join the chain to the yet more remote spiritual center hidden, though not lost, in the clouds of time, and in piecing together the fragments of these esoteric links, it is better to begin with the views of a well-known Italian Mason, for it is to the sons of the widow we must look for help in revivifying the ancient spiritual truth of a once esoteric mystery. The writer from whom we quote believed profoundly in Masonry and writes of it as one who knows that it was a vehicle for conveying spiritual mysteries to the people. Thus, he writes of the early history of Masonry. 3 centuries had passed since the origin of Christianity, when at this epoch of barbarism there arose in the same Persia whence so many teachings had gone forth, a philosopher who wished to lead back the confused spirit of men to the cult of the only true God. He was called Manes, Some of the uninstructed have regarded him as the first originator of our order and the creator of our doctrines. So he's talking about Freemasonry. Manes lived under the Persian king Soperez. He endeavored to recall to life in their entire purity the mysteries and the religion of Zoroaster, uniting them with the pure, compassionate teachings of Jesus. The teachings of Manes were liberal, whereas superstition and despotism governed Europe. It is easy to believe that uh, those who professed demagogic principles in a religion free from all that was chimerical would be persecuted. Thus, the Manichaeans from about the 4th century were persecuted to the fullest by all the despots and by Roman priests. The holy Augustine, brought up in the mysteries of Zoroaster, adopted to the holy teaching of Jesus, became his bitterest persecutor and the greatest enemy of the teaching of Manes, which was known under the name of the religion of the child of the widow. This hatred toward Manes by St. Augustine and his zeal for the Christian Trinity doctrine may have originated in the vexation admitted into the first degree of the mysteries of Manes, the Magi, who had recognized in him an ambitious and restless spirit, were thereby induced to refuse to him all advancement, and this in spite of his 9 years' study, which he made in order to be raised to the higher degree. This fact is sufficiently confirmed by Fleury, Baronius, and by Augustine himself in his Confessions. After the death of Manes, 12 of his pupils went forth into all the parts of the earth and imparted his teachings and his mysteries to all the people. They illumined, as with a lightning flash, Asia, Africa, and Europe, and may be seen from Baronius, Fleury, Bale, and others. We have already said that still in the lifetime of Manes, his pupil Herman had spread his teachings to Egypt, where the Coptic priests and other Christians mingled it with the mysteries adopted from the Jews. It was through these some Coptic priests and the Eastern Christians had both the mysteries of the children of the widow and the cult of the great architect came to be to us in consequence of apparently unforeseen events. That and it will be seen that it was principally by means of the Crusades that they obtained a secure footing in the West. The mysteries maintained their existence under the name of the cult of the great architect of the universe, a name that has its origin in the allegory of Hiram, which represented in the mysteries the unknown God, the eternal and sole creator of all things and regenerator of all beings. Thus does Regalini de Schio write as he traces the Masonic ancestry back to the pre-Christian period. He continues, Bessot, in his History des Variations, the fourth, says that in the Middle Ages, the Christian sects, especially the Manichaeans and Gnostics, had concealed themselves as much as possible into the Orthodox Church itself. The remainder of the Manichaeans, who had maintained themselves only too well in the East, crowded into a Latin church, Montfaucon. The seventh, page 271, says when he speaks of the religion of the Egyptians, that the hearsay of the good and evil principles which had been upheld by Manichaeans, had at various times brought forth in the church great disorder. He asserts that in the East these doctrines existed at the time of the Crusades. The long time that elapsed during the wars, the Crusaders gave him the opportunity of being admitted into the mysteries of the children of the widow and teachings of the grand architect of the world and of both principles. The Crusaders, who had been admitted to the mysteries of the children of the widow and inherited therein, imparted them on their return home to their pupils in Europe. During the sojourn of the Crusaders with the Mussulmans, all kinds of theological investigations were instituted. These led the Crusaders deep into the faith in the great architect of the world. And again, he adds, in spite of the religious political changes that followed up the conquest of the Saracens in Asia, Africa, and Europe, in spite of the persecutions introduced by them, the doctrines as the unity of God was able to maintain itself by the means of the mysteries in Palestine, Syria, and Egypt, more especially, however, in the neighborhood of Thebes. For here the Christians and Coptic priests preserved in the lap of their solitude the teachings communicated to them by Hesman, the people of Mainz, a teaching which later passed over into Europe. Passing on from these important and interesting indications to more detailed aspect of our subject, we find that in the later period, many of the semi-Masonic bodies had unknown heads, more especially those whose aims were avowedly occult. This being the term which was applied in Germany, Austria, and Hungary to those organizations that did not make public the sources from which their teachings were derived, nor say from whom their inspiration came. Yeah, screenshot that one. To find the origin of such secrecy, we must turn back to the early history of the Masonic tradition and sketch briefly what is told us by a Mason of the early part of the century. When dealing with this historic secret, he says, what does it say? We find among all the priests of ancient peoples, yes, I don't believe in the Trinity stuff, in an order that none but really capable and unworthy men should be associated with their offices and studies. They instituted forms of probation and examination upon which followed some kind of initiation. Now, as the old writers ascribed such mysteries and initiations to the Egyptian priests, it is very probable that they already existed before the downfall of that people, for we find traces of them in equally ancient nations and perceived from the likeness of their fundamental principles of the teachings and customs of their priests that they must have had a common origin. Among the Chaldeans, the Magi dwelt on the summits of the mountains, and among the Celtic races of the Druids lived in the quiet solitude of the forests. Among the Indians and Ethiopians, the Brahmins and Gymnosophists had localities especially dedicated to them. And among the Egyptians, the priests had intricate dwelling places far beneath the surface of the earth. All had their symbols and distinctive signs, and owed their fame only to the secrecy of their initiation. Secrets of antiquity had a twofold aim. The first case, religion was chosen as the object of care. The greater mysteries, the more eternally secret were they to be kept from the people. The aim in the second case was to guard the wisdom of all things. He who would be initiated must be a man of upright character and true mental power. The sacred mysteries fell into decay with the Roman Empire, the flourishing of the spread of the Christian religion being the chief cause of the decadence. The initiation into the mysteries of the wisdom was, however, a much longer duration. Why is this mouse acting up? It changed only from time to time, either the name, the inner constitution, the degrees, or various kinds of knowledge. Bound up in these, or even the nature of the union itself. The men who were known under the name of the Magi, or the White Masters, talking about Sirius, made one of their most important aims the true knowledge of the human heart, which lay always open before their eyes. To them alone was entrusted the bringing up of kings and the great of the earth, for they alone could understand science as well as art, and careless of all prejudice, taught a simple and natural theology, which based itself upon the worship of a supreme being. Because, however, their method of teaching was symbolical, many errors of which they were entirely incapable were ascribed to them on account of their numerous hieroglyphs. Okay, let me just roll this joint real quick. I think I broke enough weed here. Let's see. What's going on? The Magi of Memphis and Heliopolis were held in such esteem, and their renown was so widespread that the greatest heroes of war, philosophers, and strangers of the highest rank journeyed to Egypt and sought to be initiated by the priests in order to learn the secrets of the priesthood. From among these priests, Lycurgus and Solon drew part of their system of philosophy. Orpheus was also initiated by them, and by this means enabled to introduce into his own land festivals from which the Greek mythology afterwards arose. Thales also was instructed by them. Pythagoras received from the same source his doctrine of metempsychosis. Metempsychosis. I don't know how to pronounce that. Herodotus obtained much information and Democritus his secrets. Moses also, who was brought up by the Magi, used his knowledge of the mysteries to free the Israelites from Egyptian bondage and lead them to the service of the true God. It is well known that Moses prescribed certain probation for his Levites, and that the secrets of the priesthood were inaccessible to the rest of the Israelites. The principles ruled till the time of Solomon. That's bizarre. Levites, which one was that? Levites, wasn't that the tribe of Dan? Uh, Levites. I can't remember which one that is. I'm pretty stoned. Let's see here. Keep in mind it's symbols of the zodiac. Okay, so anybody got any questions about what was just read? Whoa. How do I always freeze? Ah, shit. I'm dropping weed all over. Okay. Yeah. Okay, no questions, I assume. Okay. Now, let's see. Where is that? Oh. I gotta scroll down here. And this policy of silence was a wise one. For the bitter vituperations which were showered on the heads of the few who were the exoteric leaders in such organizations, demonstrated the wisdom which guarded the personalities of the real leaders. Man, these chairs are just fucking uncomfortable. Such work was better done by small groups, and this appears to have been the view held by those leaders with whom the student does not come into contact. Some few of these groups in the last century have already been cited, but it will be as well to repeat their titles, which run as follows: Canons of the Holy Sepulchre, Canons of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem, Beneficent Knights of the Holy City, Strict Observance, just like the Swedenborg's Lodge of Strict Observance, Clergy of Nicosia and the island of Cyprus, Clergy of Auvergne, I don't know how to pronounce that, it's French, Auvergne, Auvergne, the Knights of Providence, the Order of the Knights of Saint Joachim, the African Brothers, the Knights of Light, the Order of Frater Lucius, the Asiatic Brother, the Order of the Knights of Saint John, or the Grand Orient of France and Asia. These societies do not belong to any one country in particular, for we find ramifications of them appearing, disappearing, and reappearing, like beacon lights in Austria, Hungary, Italy, France, Sweden, and Russia. England was the least prolific soil in the early centuries for the implanting of the mystic seed. In Scotland and Ireland, however, that light shone more clearly than England. But in Austria and the Danubian provinces, mysticism grew apace for a short and happy while. And so a few words about Austria in particular may be said before passing on. That's interesting. What does he want to say about Austria? Says Ludwig Abafi in his Introduction to Prehistoric Freemasonry in Austria and Hungary. It is proved that Emperor Rudolf I, even in the year 1275, authorized an order of Masons, whilst Pope Nicholas III in the year 1278 granted a brotherhood of stonemasons at Strasbourg. A letter of indulgence, which was renewed by all the successors down to Benedict XII in 1340. The oldest order of German Masons arises in the year 1397. Next follow the so-called Vienna Witness of 1412, 1430, and 1435. the Strasbourg Order of Lodges, 1495, that of Targu of 1462, and finally 16 different orders on to 1500, into the following centuries for Spires, Regensburg, Saxon, Altenburg, Strasbourg, Vienna, and Tyrol. At this period, the Roman Church appears to have made various futile efforts to retain a hold upon these Masons, but without tangible results, for the forces at the back of these movements prevented the destruction of a new free spiritual growth by the Roman power. This period also came those great souls burning for freedom, who sparked the Reformation, as in the Protestant Reformation, although that work and those reforms were dwarfed their full growth. I guess stand up for a second. Ouch. Why is my cord all fucked up? Dwarfed of their full growth by the natural crudity and narrowness of the human mind. Nevertheless, dogmatic and mind-killing power of Rome was materially thwarted. The spirit and the teaching of the Master Christ set free from those trammels. Use my chair for a stand on. Abafi proceeds. Equally important in the formation of Freemasonry were certain religious communities and brotherhoods of the Middle Ages, which for the most part aimed at a return to the pure teachings of Christ, making its ethical form familiar to their adherents. One of these brotherhoods was that of Waldenses, established by Peter Waldo in the year 1170 at Lyons. Their aim was the restitution of the original purity of the church through the adoption of voluntary poverty and other ascetic practices. But because of the doctrine of transubstantiation, they soon came into conflict with the Catholic Church. What was that? In as early as 1134, Pope Lucius III excommunicated them. And Sextus the Fourth, excommunicated them. In 1477, proclaimed a crusade against them. In spite of these attacks, they have kept alive up to the present day and have spread into several countries, namely into Italy, France, Bohemia, and in the latter country we shall meet them again under the name Bohemian Brothers. And a few words may be summarized from the same writer about some of the other mystic bodies in Bohemia and Hungary, lands full of occult tendencies. Among them are the following: Die Bruder von Rief und Hammer, Brothers of the Circle and Hammer. Doesn't that sound like the Russian hammer and sickle? Die Hacke Bruderschaft, the Brotherhood of the Hatchet. Die Front vom Kreuz, or the Friends of the Cross. This last society spread into the Netherlands and had its greatest success in the latter part of the 17th century. The Brothers of the Cross, or the Knights of the Crucifera, or whatever they're called, were still holding their meetings in 1785, They had many members in Wallachia and still more in Transylvania. Brabby, in his Masonic studies, says it consisted principally of older men and those who were generally reputed wise, and therefore of prominent leaders of the Brotherhood, who here in the metropolis of the kingdom formed a kind of stronghold of the inner east. The last expression is worthy of our notice, for it shows that the minds of men were turning, even in Masonic circles, to the Eastern teachings. Abafi also says that a great molding force was exercised at the period on the form of Freemasonry by Jane Amos Komensky, Latinized Comenius, who was born at Brunn in Bohemia, 1592. Who became a chaplain of the Bohemian Brothers. 1618. When the civil wars began, Kamensky lost wife, child, and property. He was exiled from Austria like all other non-Catholics. Poor dude. He escaped Poland, turned his thoughts to educational matters, and became famous in Sweden, Hungary, and England. Komensky was actively interested in the Rosicrucian movement and joined John Valentinius Audrius in his work in that body. In 1650, Komensky was invited to Hungary, Transylvania by the Prince Ragatsky, where he stayed 4 years. It is doubtless partly owing to his influence that the Rosicrucian movement spread so widely in these countries. His philosophical and metaphysical views were so widely spread that when Anderson wrote his book on Freemasonry, he, according to Abafi, incorporated in his work a compilation of the most essential portions of the plans of Kamensky. As Abafi phrases it, it was reserved for an Austrian, a Moravian schoolmaster, the chaplain of the Bohemian Brothers, and bestow ethical treasures upon the Brotherhood and proud Albion, the home of the boldest intellects, to formulate the ideas and to point out the way for the League, which after its transformation was destined to embrace the noblest of all nations, being brought to perfection by them, ordained to influence the whole humanity. Spread of mysticism in Austria and Hungary during the last century was astoundingly rapid. According to one authority, about 5%. The entire population belonged to Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and other allied societies. The vast majority of these lodges must, he thinks, have been secret, for at the death of the Empress, only 3 legitimate and perfect lodges existed. That is to say, only 3 lodges in which Freemasonry as such existed without any more extended search into occultism. Another authority, Dr. Otto Hen M. Rhine, promptly doubles this number, saying that there were 20,000 mystic studies in Vienna. As this writer was an avowed enemy of mysticism, his views may be taken as not likely to exaggerate the numerical value of occult studies students. In Austria, mysticism had been aided by the kindly interest taken in such subjects by the Emperor Francis I. He had protected and favored a very remarkable man called Seefels or Seefeld, A Rosicrucian and a Mason who had an alchemical laboratory at Rodun, a small village about a mile from Vienna. This man was loved and respected by the whole neighborhood for his kindness. Where was it? As well as feared for his powers, which were most remarkable. Seefels is mentioned by Schmider in his valuable History of Alchemy as one of the 7 true adepts who should appear in Europe in the course of the century. Schmider also gives us some very interesting proofs of his powers. But in spite of the emperor's protection, he was seized by the police and placed in a fortress at Temeswar in Hungary. A careful study of Schmider's work would more than repay any student who desires to have evidences for occult powers made certain by history. The following interesting notes are quoted as showing the connecting link between continental mystic masonry and England, of which but little has been heard in the outer world. The German tract, printed in 1803 and bound up with another tract of Fessler's called Geschichte der Freimaurerei, occur the following startling statements, which I give to Masonic students for what they are worth. 1. The Templars worked with a so-called magical brethren at an early period of their existence. The magical brethren of the Knights of the Rosy Cross. 2. A Rosicrucian manuscript states that at Cologne, with the motto Non omnis moriar, this magical union was created there in 1115. Guess which society that is? The Knights of the Priory of Sion. The Knights of the Priory. 3. A manuscript of Michael Myers still exists in the University Library of Leyden, which sets forth that in 1570 the Society of the Old Magical Brethren, or Wise Men, was revived under the name of the Brethren of the Golden Rosy Cross. So you see that Martin Luther was one of the old magical brethren, or brethren of the Golden Rosy Cross. Before it was called such, still would have used the same symbols. Let's see here. 4. I read a lot of these details in other books. It is asserted that in 1563 the statutes of the Brotherhood were on the 22nd of September at Basel, at the meeting of 72 masters of lodges, revised, set forth and printed that the lodges of Swabia, Hesse, Bavaria, Franconia, Saxony, Thuringia, and those on the Moselle acknowledged the headship of a Grand Lodge of Strasbourg. That in the 18th century the lodges of Dresden and Nuremberg were fined by the Grand Master of Strasbourg. That the Grand Lodge of Vienna of Hungary and that of the Grand Lodge of Vienna and Hungary. And Sturmark, the Grand Lodge of Zurich, which ruled the Swiss lodges, referred to the Mother Lodge of Strasbourg in all difficult and doubtful matters. To these notes by a Masonic student, the following editorial note is appended. There can be no doubt that the theosophical and magical union above mentioned did exist as an organized secret society, correspondence of Cornelius Agrippa von Nettesheim shows that he was a member of such a secret society, and it is further asserted that when he was in London, he established a branch of it in that city. Flood, as showing that secret societies existed in the universities, has the passage, notwithstanding any allegiance which I may have vowed by a ceremonial right to Aristotle in my youth. These societies used the double triangles or seal of Solomon, and in the ruins of one of the old temple preceptories in France was found a copper medallion, the lamb surmounted by this Kabbalistic symbol. 2 points in the interesting note can be corroborated by further evidence. The Rosicrucian manuscript mentioned in paragraph 2, para 2, is also mentioned on page 56, the most valuable German book, to which reference has already been made by Friedrich Gottlieb Ephraim Weiss, or Magister Pienko. It is called Der Rosenkreutzer in seiner Bloß, Amsterdam, 1781. Some extracts from it will not be without interest, for it refers to the older body of wise men who were known as the unknown heads of many of the small societies. Conditions of entrance are briefly given as follows. Whosoever wished to be admitted to the secrets and afterwards to be initiated must be a man of honor and true spiritual power. He must be already of considerable learning, for only those were accepted, of whom it could be hoped that they would be of great service to the sacred alliance. The initiates wore a triangle symbolic of the three qualities of the demiurgos: power, wisdom, and love. Masters of the second secret were masters in the knowledge of all nature, inner forces, and divisions. They were called philosophers, or the world wise. Their science was called world wisdom. These world wise occupied themselves in secret. No one knew where they met or what they did. But they had also secret sciences known only to the highest among them, called magos, or mage, the wise master who taught the people of divine things. He could do things which appeared quite supernatural. The author, speaking of relation of masonry to this older and more secret body, says these brother masons, the highest degrees, knew what they owed their brotherhood to the initiations of the old wise men. The great part of their knowledge came from them, and that without their help they could do nothing. In another passage he says, long before the year 1100, I think that's supposed to be a 515, there was a society which the mysteries of the ancients took place of the last and youngest grade, which had the same position with the Temple Haren, who had adopted it with the other teachings of the wise ones. They were the novices from all time. So the time of the Inquisition against the Templars, no one knew anything about the tower and last grades. Those who belonged to them had no public connection with them, and thus lived without attracting any attention. They were overlooked in the cruelties of time. One did not think of them, as the members of the Templars who escaped were few in number and died one after the other. Remaining members drew together to form a bond of friendship, to which end they drew up certain rules. This new society appeared in different forms and under different names. Cross Society, or Brother of the Cross, Noahites, and in later days adopted the name Freemason. I need to drink some water here. What's going on? Excuse me. What is this? Oh, there's a cigarette. Whoa. No, maybe I'll smoke the joint first. Alright, so anybody's got any questions on this book here? Well, maybe I'll just skip ahead here. Let's talk about real assimilation. What is associates still remained over the collapse of the communities of the initiates who were scattered about the world began to make fresh projects for a general union. Excuse me. They took the laws of their community and the laws of the Christians, which are known under the name of the Bible, to real assimilation. Excuse me. They began to institute parallel between the books of Moses and the memorials of the Magi. From all this, they evolved a kind of association provided with certain laws which could fit into and with the Christian. This association was, as is always the custom with innovations in the beginning, somewhat dark and involved. It was saddled with various meanings and names, which it would be quite unnecessary to repeat here, but which were all of short duration, so that the first ones called it the Association of Magi and its members the Magi Brotherhood and Associates. This first association was formed in the year 1115, lasted until the year 1117. Though it underwent changes from time to time, the Crusaders had given rise to many societies and orders amongst the profane, and associations had sprung up which had quite different objects. Amid innumerable ones, there arose in the year 418 the knights with whom the Magi Brotherhood united and shared their principles and secrets with them. The writer speaks as one having authority and knowledge also. Turning to the particular date mentioned in the notes from the Kanef, we find that about this period or a few years earlier, the first documentary evidence of the appearance of the Asiatische Brüder is mentioned by Baron Hans Ecker von Eckhofen in his treatise Authentischen Nachrichten von der Written Unterbreiter Eingeweihten Aussehen, Hamburg, 1788. These writings, he says, date from 1510, showing that the body of the mystics was known at that period. These knights of Asia also called themselves Knights of St. John. Excuse me. It was a curious fact to notice that one of the Masonic records, which was caused an infinity of discussion and also dissension amongst Masons, is the celebrated Cologne record, which dated 1535, and in the Order of St. John is noticed. Its charter has been a veritable bone of contention between materialistic and mystic Masons, and much polemical literature has been published on the subject. The mystics hold it to be true on external and internal evidences, while the materialists reject it, as they reject all such evidence. In the record, there's the name Philip Melanchthon, friend and co-worker of Martin Luther, who appears as a brother in the Order of Freemasons. This document bears witness also to the secret society was known in various parts of the world, which existed before 1440 under the Brotherhood of St. John. Since then, up to 1535, under the title St. John's Order of Freemasonry, Masonic Brotherhood, Order of Wise Ones. The society was reformed and rearranged in the year 1717. Generally accepted modern date of the materialistic and non-mystic Masons. Became more atheistic in its views, more democratic in its tendencies. Amongst other deep, interesting matter, the Charter of Cologne contained the following passage. The Brotherhood, or the Order of Freemason Brothers bound together according to St. John's holy rules, traces its origin neither from the Templars nor from any spiritual or temporal knightly order, but is older than all similar orders that existed since Palestine and Greece, as well in various parts of the Roman Empire. Before the Crusades, our brotherhood arose at a time when, in consequence of the strife between the sects teaching Christian morals, a small number of the initiated entrusted with the true teachings of virtue and the sensible exposition of the secret teachings separated themselves from the mass. According to the record, the following reason was given for the adoption of the name. The masters of this confederation was called the St. John's Brethren, as they had chosen John the Baptist, the forerunner of the light of the world, as their original and example. There's a curious similarity between this document, its phrasing and style, the remarks made in the book by Weiss in his Der Rosenkreutzer and Steiner Bloss, some passages of which have already been summarized. Yet another well-known Masonic authority bears witness to the value of the Cologne record. Thus Mackenzie writes, the documents are still preserved in one of the lodges of Namur. They've been very hotly debated. On the one hand, Oliver Regalini and some others treat them as authentic, and the antiquaries of the universities of Leyden certify that the paper on which the register of the lodge at the Hague is written is some same kind that is used in Holland at the beginning of the 17th century. Now this register refers to the Charter of Cologne as being in existence, so that the fraud, if a fraud, is 2 centuries old. Our chief interest in all this detailed evidence lies in the ever-recurring testimony that it bears to the older fraternity, which was the inspiring body at the back. But we must now turn to some of the societies which had unknown heads, as given in our list. J.M. Regan, in his Orthodoxie Masonique, gives the following interesting account of one of these bodies, more information on which will be added from other sources. The Order of Architects of Africa, or African Brothers, 1767. This order was composed of educated and well-principled brothers. Their lodges in Europe were all closed, excepting perhaps that of Constantinople at Berlin. Only one of their Grand Masters was known. This was the Councillor of War, Copan. Their first degree offered more extensive and complete instruction than all the degrees of the Scotch systems together. They said that the lodges of the St. John neglected the great end, and that instruction was hardly to be had there, and that the strict observance did not know the grounds of the continuation of the Masonic order. They occupied themselves with hieroglyphics, especially with those relating to Freemasonry, which they sought to know well. They made a mystery of their goal up to the seventh degree. Remember the seventh degree, like I was telling about earlier, which could only be gained by zeal, perseverance, and discretion. Their secondary occupations were these sciences, especially history and antiquities, study of which they considered indispensable for the true Freemason. The first degree was symbolically called the architect or apprentice of Egyptian secrets. They called themselves Africans because their study began with the history of the Egyptians, in whose mysteries they found indications of Freemasonry, although they placed its origin much later, as to which the Crusades gave them no light. The customs were simple and noble. They never laid any stress on decorations, aprons, ribbons, jewels, etc., but they liked a certain luxury, the sententious inscriptions from the sublime but hidden meaning, or with a sublime but hidden meaning. In their assemblies, they read treatises, and communicated to each other the result of their researches. Their banquet was where similar decorum prevailed, and instructive and scientific discourses were given at them. Admissions were given without any fees. Earnest brothers who fell into distress received much assistance. They had published many important documents in Germany on Freemasonry. This order was established in Prussia, 1767, with the ascent of Frederick II, called the Great. Oh, they're talking about the Egyptian rite. Its degrees, to the number of 11, were divided into two temples. First temple, apprentice, companion, and master. Second temple, architect or apprentice of the Egyptian secrets. Mains musée, initiate of the Egyptian secrets. Cosmopolitan brother, Christian philosopher Basanius, master of the Egyptian secrets. Elephophilote, friend of truth. Higher degrees, Armiger, Miles, Equus. The grand chapter each year during the life of Frederick II, a gold medal of so ducats as a prize for the best treatise or discourse. In 1806, only one chapter of this system remained, that of Berlin or Constantinople. The supposed origin of the order, Regan writes as follows. When Frederick II came to the throne, seeing that Freemasonry was no longer what it had been, in appreciating what it might be, he conceived the plan of the inner order, which might at the same time take the place of the Masonic Academy. He made a choice of a certain number of Masons capable of comprehending his ideas and charged them with the organization of this body. Among these were to be noticed the brothers Stahl, Degon, Mayorotto, and De Beauce. They instructed the order under the name of an extinct society, the Architects of Africa, and established statutes in accordance with the views of the king, who on his side granted privileges. In 1768 had erected in Silesia by his architect Miele, a building especially designed for the grand chapter, and endowed it with the ample fund, with the choice library and rich furniture, the whole being of an elegance worthy of the order and of the king. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna spark this joint. Yeah, for some reason, reading makes my face hurt. This order, without pretending to dominion, teaching tolerance, professing and the primitive principles of Freemasonry, making a special study of its history, prospered in silence and in complete freedom. Its chief statutes were to fear God only, to honor the king and to be discreet, to exercise universal tolerance towards all Masonic sects without ever affiliating itself to any. How was that joint burning like that? For this reason, they never submitted to the act of obedience of the Baron de Hund, which is relevant. Interesting. Baron von Hund. Notwithstanding all the entreaties that were made to them to do so, in the admission of candidates, they observed the strictest caution. It is said that Duke Ferdinand of Brunswick was refused because he meddled with sectarian affairs. They devoted themselves to active researches into the history of the mysteries, secret societies of their various branches, cultivated sciences, chiefly mathematics, and their works, carried on often in Latin, reigned morality, a high tone, solid and unostentatious teaching. Their library and their archives obtained to the protection of the king and the persons of distinction, among others, the Prince von Liechtenstein at Vienna. Some real treasures of manuscripts are documents which no Masonic branch can boast. De Coverte sur le système de l'ordre des architectes africains, Constantinople, Berlin. This article is taken from the Masonic Library of a Very Kind Brother. Few monarchs have more thoroughly protected the mystic schools within the Masonic body than Frederick II, King of Prussia, well named the Great. Not only did he protect them, but he also actively sympathized with them. While still crown prince, he was initiated as a Mason at Brunswick in August 1738. He was from that period the staunch protector of the Masonic fraternity. Nor did he omit to penetrate very deeply into the early traditions of Masonry. Far more so, indeed, than many who have fewer duties to engage their time. Frederick the Great was, however, by no means the vague and dreamy mystic of popular representation. His academy and schools were the centers of the most brilliant intellects of the period, while the choice of his friends, literary, philosophical, and mystic, testifies to the breadth of his knowledge. Was illustrious. Wait, it also illustrates the manifold sympathies of his nature, both as soldier and mystic, philosopher and scholar. Though not saintly, but by any means, he was thoroughly appreciative of ideals that were beyond him. His sympathy with mystics is evidenced by his selection of a librarian, for he gave that post to the Royal Public Library at Berlin with the title of academician to Dom Antone Joseph Pernetti. Ah, a man who had been a Benedictine monk, but having become, like many others, dissatisfied with the order, he applied to the Pope for dispensation from his vows. This was no obstacle in the eyes of the king, deeply interested as he was in the researches of this well-known hermeticist and alchemist. That's what time is it? That the opinions of Don Pernetti were publicly known is demonstrated by a writer of the period who says, a remarkable trait in the character of this academician was that he believed in the philosopher's stone, mysteries of the Kabbalah, apparitions, Patagonians, witcheries, enchantments, the race of giants, etc. But notwithstanding this inconceivable and ridiculous weakness, he was beloved by everyone. Well, that's interesting. So he believed in the philosopher's stone, the mysteries of Kabbalah, apparitions, Patagonians, witcheries, enchantments, and race of giants. Well, I wonder what the Excedra was. Notwithstanding of he joined that of a most perfect discretion in regard to such affairs as were at any time confided to his secrecy. Never did a word from his lips give room for the smallest explanation or disagreement. Such is the comment of the mystic's character by one who, while adverse to his opinions, nevertheless renders justice to a personality which some traduced. Dom Pernetti was for some time in personal relationship with M. de Saint Germain, but Madame with M. de Saint Germain. Well, that's weird. Later on, he founded the Académie des Illumines d'Avignon. It's the Illuminati of Avignon, which is essentially hermetic in its aims, had also a close connection with the Swedish system, which was the I forget the name. The rites of this was a secret body, but it was also under the general Masonic regulations. It was also in close union with the followers of Martinez Pascuales, and that bond has been kept up, for some of the treatises written by Dom Pernetti are now being published by the Martinists in America. Whoa. To pursue this interesting topic would, however, lead us too far from our Afrikanische Bahiren and their protector, the King of Prussia, with whom our attention is at present engaged because of the Illuminist stuff. The most succinct account of the opinions held by the leading Freemasons Germany at the juncture is given by Findel, who, although a pronounced antagonist, shows very lucidly the underlying mystic basis on which the outward Masonic forms were supported. And it is of the value of these researches to quote his testimony in full, illustrating as it unwittingly does the hypothesis put forward, namely that all the societies similar to the African Brothers and Fratres Lucius and others of like caliber were but the outward manifestations of hidden forces which were attempting to indoctrinate the whole Masonic body, which, with true spiritual, mental, and moral mystic knowledge, says Findel, the Grand Lodge of Germany further assumes that in the building fraternities in the Middle Ages, besides their art, a secret science is carried on, the substratum of which was the real Christian mystery, serving as a preparatory or elementary school and stepping stone to that of in St. John's Masonry, which latter was not a mere system of moral philosophy, but closely allied and connected with this mystery. It was conceded that the Freemasonry of our days, St. John's Freemasonry, sprang from the building fraternities of the Middle Ages. At the same time, asserted that in the early ages there existed a secret society which strove to compass the perfecting of the human race, precisely in the same manner and employing similar means as did the Swedish system, which in fact only followed in the wake of its predecessor, being concealed in the building fraternities, so that our society did not rise from them, but made itself a way through them. Talking about limited secret science, the mystery was very ancient indeed. This mystery formed the secret of the higher degrees of the rite, which were not merely kept hidden from the rest of the Confederation, but also from the members of the inferior degrees of the system itself. This mystery was fully confirmed by documents which the Grand Lodge of Germany had in its keeping. Secret legend is the same as that of the Carpocratians, which is that Jesus chose some of the apostles and confided to them a secret science, which was transmitted afterwards to the priests of the Order of the Knights Templar, and through them to the building fraternities, down to the present Freemasons of the Swedish Rite. The Swedish system teaches that there have been men of all nations who have worshipped God in spirit and in truth, surrounded by idolatry and superstition, have yet preserved their pure faith. Separate from the world and unknown to it, this wisdom has been preserved by them and handed down as a mystery. The time of the Jews, they had made use of the Essenes, in which sect Jesus was brought up, and had spent the greater part of his life, having been instructed by him in a mere perfect knowledge of holy things. They had amidst persecution taught in silence that which had been committed to their keeping. The period of the Saracens and the Crusades they made so greatly oppressed that they must ultimately have sought for protection from without. As fate, however, would have it, 7 of them, Syriac Christians, pursued many believers near Bastrum, were rescued by the Knights Templar, and afterwards taken under their protection. When they had lived there for a certain time, they begged for permission to dwell in the Canaans with the canons and prebendaries of Jerusalem. As the life there led agreed better with their inclination and habits, this was accorded them, and Andreas Montabarensis effected a union of these Syrians with the canons, to whom, out of gratitude, they imparted all their science. And so completely did they make the priests of the order the depositories of their secrets that they kept them and handed them over to others under certain conditions. Thus, this secret knowledge, which was continually being added to, lived on in the very heart of the Order of Knights Templars till its abolition. The clergy were dispersed, persecution that ensued, but as the secular arm did not touch them as it did the knights, they managed to rescue many of their secret writings. When the knights sought refuge in Scotland, they founded a chapter at excuse me, Aberdeen. The first prior of which was Petrus de Bennonia. The science was disseminated from this place very cautiously, first to Italy, then to the extreme north, Sweden and Russia and France. Italy, Abbat Severin, Severin had been the guardian of the true science. Findel quotes all this history in a purely skeptical way, with adverse remarks of his own of doubt and derision. Nevertheless, the history of this ancient secret teaching is true, and it coincides in its details with accounts which come to us from other sources, in order that the hidden sources may thus be more clearly kept in view. We will quote the words of a well known Masonic writer, Mr. Lowry. Although it will be acknowledged by every unbiased reader that Freemasonry has a powerful resemblance to the Eleusinian and Dionysian mysteries, the fraternity of Ionian architects, and the Essenian and Pythagorean associations. Yet some may be disposed to question the identity of these institutions because they had different names, because some usages were observed by one which were neglected by another. These circumstances of dissimilarity, fuck's my mouse at, arise from these necessary changes which were superinduced upon every institution by a spirit of innovation, by the caprice of individuals, and by the various revolutions in civilized society. Every alteration or improvement in philosophical systems or ceremonial institutions generally produces a corresponding variation in their name deduced from the nature of the improvement or from the name of the innovator. Different associations, for example, whose nature and tendency we have been considering, receive their names from circumstances merely casual and often of trifling consideration, though all of them were established for the same purpose and derived from the same source. When the mysteries of the Essenes were imported by Pythagoras into Italy without undergoing much variation, they were there denominated the mysteries of Pythagoras, and in our own day they are called the secrets of Freemasonry, because many of their symbols are derived from the art of building, because they are believed to have been invented by the Association of Architects, who were anxious to preserve among themselves the knowledge which they had acquired. The Dionysia, or mysteries of Bacchus, were intimately connected with those of Ceres and perhaps still more with Freemasonry, says Laurie. The rites came from Egypt, and there, according to Plutarch, Ceres was the Egyptian Isis and Bacchus was Osiris. The Dionysian artificers or architects were an association of scientific men who were incorporated by command of the kings of Pergamus into a corporate body some 300 years BC, which had the city of Teos given to them. The members of this association, which was intimately connected with the Dionysian mysteries, were distinguished from the uninitiated inhabitants of Teos by their science and by words and signs by which they could recognize their brethren of the order. Like Freemasons, they were divided into lodges, which were characterized by different names. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass out here. Well, I got a little bit of this joint left, so I'll keep reading. Well, so this is a good, pretty good read here. This is a digital copy of a book. Here's the, if you want to read it. Let's see. Yeah, it was Masonry and Medieval Mysticism towards the hidden something. I guess this is, what is this one? Okay, is this the same book, or is this 151 pages, 203? Alright, well, these are taking forever to load. Oh wait, sometimes it fucks up. Yeah, for some reason this is fucking up. Just download. Ancient Mystic and Oriental Masonry. What's this one right here? Hidden Tradition Masonry by Oakley. Well, I guess I'll save those for later. Okay. So I thought it was interesting how that Order of the Thistle was connected to the King Arthur legend. Very interesting. I was going to smoke a cigarette too, but I think I should just go to sleep. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, oh, shit, I lost my page. Oh, well. It seemed like I went through it. Okay, well, whatever. I don't know where I'm at here. Footnotes. Need to buy a new mouse. Okay, whatever. I'll get back at that book later. I got too many tabs open here. Okay. So I was doing some background on this. This thing's fucked up right here. Let's looking up this project Megiddo. Reading about it because it seems strange. Because I was reading about the British. It's talking about the British in there. Here's a link to it. Page 60. Yeah, it points out the insanity of the British racism. I mean, I'm not even gonna bring it up on the screen because it's so disgusting. But it's just fucked up to study these occults and such. See that they believe in wacko shit. Let's see here. Need some print screen that so don't lose it. Yeah, so that's where there's a lot of crazy fucking British racial bullshit going on. Which are fucking racist. Goddamn, fucking hate racists. Fucking yeah, okay, well I'm just gonna. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll smoke a cigarette before I go here. Final thought of this episode. Okay. Um, Morgan the face. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is weird about this Saint Winifred. There must be two of them because the book was saying it was a male, not a female, and this is saying a virgin martyr. It's saying her in the right there. Because in the book it wasn't saying it was a lady. I'm not sure what the hell's going on with this. This is why Wikipedia is retarded. No, I don't know. Oh wait, no, this is this is the is this no, this is the night story. I'm stoned. The night story's right. This one right here. Yeah, so I thought this was interesting. This see, it says this Morgan Le Fay was a fae, like an elf, fairy folk. The yeah, you never want to insult the fairy folk, otherwise they'll. Well, I'm gonna turn the fan on real quick before I light up my cigarette. Okay. Yeah, so the I'll smoke one cigarette before I pass out. Yeah, the Arthurian lore. Whoa, excuse me. Okay, so yeah, so this Arthurian lore is very interesting because it's mixing the Fae symbology with the astro theology, and that there is no known Fae astro theology. So that's very interesting. Damn. Okay. I'm just re-rolling this cigarette with a different paper here. Yes, there's no known astro theology of the fairy folk stuff. Very interesting. I wonder if it's going to lead to somewhere, this whole Arthurian lore. I forget what the hell the story had to do with. What is that? La Muerte de Arthur. It must be a book. Yeah. To figure out the whole story with this Arthur and the Grail Knights lore. Because I mean it's to do with that old symbol of a maze. It's a round symbol of a maze. It's carved on a cliff near a hill in England. It's very interesting because the one tribe used it. America. Let's see. Well, I guess I'm gonna finish the show with freaking throw on some rap beats or something. I think this one is cool. Yo, there's more to see. Rap like it's cordially. And then I heard that you act like you forgery. And there's more to be upstanding. uplifting. Yo, I keep yo, I rap typically. Come back, then you mimic me with the quickest beat. Motherfucking moving at a fidget. Fidget. I forgot what I was gonna say. Yo, like Highlander, trying to be immortal, running through a portal, smoke weed, and I don't know. Yo. Damn, this screen's dark too. There we go. The screens are so bright. Yo, I'm passing out. I'm all about to fall asleep and dream. Come back, wake up with a scheme, but it's not a pyramid. I'm disappearing quick like a magician, but I don't got superstition. Yo, and I roll with encryption of the Masons. Yo, with their thoughts evasive in symbology, psychology. Smoke some weed like bubonically, like the chronic beat. Yo, and I got the charmist beat. Come back like I was at the farthest reach. Yo, talking about it's hard to hear it. I'm disappearing. I'm moving through the spot with the clearance. Smoke so much weed, I'm disappearing in a cloud of smoke, and I'm about to joke. And then I hope to sit and chill, talk shit, keep the joint lit. It's real. Yo, talk about Masons. I spill the beans. Talk about the realest things. Yo, on YouTube, catch a few views, spew to use too. Yo, I'm fluent, Illuminati student, come back with new shit, motherfucking prudent, keep it mellow, hello. Yo, stay away from Bill Cosby and his jello. Some kind of occultist, traveler, unraveling. Yo, rap again. Nah, I guess I'll do like one more beat. Just gotta like have a cigarette. What's the other cool one? I think it was this one. Rap detective, come back with selective, and I'm starting. Yo, It's cool, but it's not as mellow as the other one. This one. back to this one. Okay, whatever. I guess I talked through the first half of it anyway. Yo, I'm coming out of reiteration, dissemination of knowledge. Yo, don't waste your money on college. Yo, I don't know, maybe. Yo, to congeal is a collegium. Like a college, smoke weed, I'm dumb. Yo, I drink rum. Yo, I think some. And I'm coming from the brink up. Yo, smoking weed. I think, what's up? I gotta. How the cigarette's too heavy, dude. Illuminati News got the hottest story. Rap with forgotten glory. Yo, got more beats. Make the floor speak. Yo, I got nothing. Smoke so much weed that the walls breathe. Yo, at ease. My mind is like a cipher, washing off the windshield wiper. Yo, typing like a typer. Yo. Man, that cigarette was strong. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna switch the beat up here. Go back to this one. And now I'm going this way here. This one. I think it was this one. Oh wait, I gotta turn it down a little bit. Yo. Lodge of the Nine Muses, reclusing like the widow's son. Yo, with a crippled tongue, like they forgot to talk. Yo, like they got lots that's, I don't know. Yo, forgotten, riddled, coming back with piddle, patter. Motherfucker talking shit, it don't matter. Motherfuckers. Yo. There's some, I don't know. Should I wrap it up? Yo, about to pass out. The last shout out. Now I doubt it. Wait, clouded in the weed smoke. So I keep smoking shit, and I'm motherfucking reopen it like a case of a mystery. History, Mr. B, come back with the quickest feet. Yo, rap with the shit that's sweet. Yo, yo. At one time, I'm chilling like it's sunrise, motherfucker. I got one eye chilling like. Yo. Nah, I don't know. I got nothing. I'm too tired. The cigarette fucking me up. I feel like I'm gonna puke. So Yo. With the simplicity in the city, I'm sitting motherfucking, and I hit weed, talking shit. Yo. Talking shit. Dipped in chocolate. Yo. Yo, I gotta spit like motherfucking Optimus Prime coming back, and I'm on top of your prime. Yo, there's nothing that's stopping my mind from thinking like I thought it. Like shit was brought quick. Yo, seen through an optic. Y'all motherfucking smoking on some tropic. Yo, y'all motherfuckers not shit. Yo. Now I gotta pass now.